quantum of properties that can be endowed by Wakif?
Thank you very much. The general rule is that there should be no limitation. Once a person is alive and he wants to make wakaf, he can make it as much as he wish. But then the limitation will come in place when we talk of a dying person, somebody that has a terminal illness, and he has apprehension that death is near. At that moment, he is limited. He cannot work off all his property because that would be against the rule of wasiya that limits the property that can be donated to 1/3. So if a person is going through a terminal illness, that will be a limitation to the quantum of property that he can work off. Also, if it is discovered that a person is trying to endow the property so as to circumvent the law of inheritance, then there will also be a limitation because that will not be allowed. Or maybe he's only doing that so that he's going to prevent some of his heirs, the rightful heirs, from enjoying any property. So in those instances, we can say that there are limitations, even though generally a person is allowed to give to work out.
Okay, thank you so much. Salim, you have a question you want to ask her?
If I'm doing a work-off, can I like build a hotel where I might dedicate it to generate income and then probably say, okay, this income that comes in should serve a particular purpose. A good example is, okay, let's say there is an orphanage, and that orphanage is being managed by an NGO. So I, as a Wakif, now says, okay, I'm building this particular hotel, and whatever money is generated from it, it should go to that orphanage as a charity. Is it possible to do something like that?
Yes, it's very possible. In fact, that's the whole essence of, we have a wakaf of, maybe you have a property that you just put down for wakaf. You also have a wakaf that could be cash wakaf. That's you put in some money and then they use the money to do whatever it is and then they process. So just what you said is like an investment wakaf, whereby the property is there doing the business and then whatever profit you get from it, you use it for the purpose in which the wakif has to play. So that's a very good way of doing wakaf amongst other ways that we have.
Okay, so so thank you. We have the other panelists seated with us now. So we'll just go straight and ask a question from Sheikh Toro. I know you talked about halal investments. What is the importance for Islamic faithfuls with respect to having portfolios that are halal? And if they don't have portfolios that are not halal, what are the implications, if any?
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Thank you for this wonderful question. But actually, before I answer this, please can I digress a bit? When Prophet Sallallahu migrated from Makkah to Medina, please, what was the first thing that he did? He did something people thought that is just something Islamic and has nothing to do with the economy or investment. He did what was called unity. Joining one Sahabi with the other, and he will call him, this is your brother. So what will that Sahabi do? He will just give him a shelter and then also give him some part of his capital to start the business. By that, they eliminated all possibilities for begging or any economic hardship. So they didn't feel it. They didn't feel that. So coming back to your question, when there is no much portfolio for halal investment, then a Muslim community will suffer in their investment approaches because the investment is going to be tight. And then they will have limited portfolio for investment, and in return, they will have less performance in the economy. So you see that the non-halal sector will be growing bigger because they have a variety of portfolio to invest in, while the halal portfolio is very small, and then the number of assets also is very little. So it's going to be difficult for Muslim investors to invest, and then that will have an overall negative effect on their socio-economic well-being. So actually, this is the area that we should look into, and it's something very important. We should address it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That was a very apt. So, Dr. Ishola, my question to you is, in clear terms, let us know, what is the status of Islamic estate distribution and administration under Nigerian law? What are the legal, mandatory, practical, and optimal recommendations that you would have for anyone that is thinking about, okay, how is my estate going to be distributed?
Thank you very much. This question is very important, because whatever we want to do, we have to be very clear about the legal position on the matter. And like I said in the morning, because lawyers are majorly trained within the common law legal system, so but until very recently, so many lawyers still look at Islamic law as a customary law, whereas we understand, even from the constitutional structure, that we have the common law, we have the customary law, and we have Islamic law as major sources of the Nigerian law. So, talking about the status of common law, the status of Islamic inheritance, this question is very important for Muslims, even as well for professionals like lawyers. You may want to be consulting for Muslims in respect to their estate. The advice should be that Islamic law of inheritance is mandatory for every Muslim. It's not optional. Because if it were to be optional, it means there will be a choice of either planning your estate in accordance with the common law, or you plan it in accordance with the Islamic law, as well as maybe in accordance with the customary law. We do say that in matters of Islamic inheritance, there are two theories as far as Nigerian law is concerned. We have the freedom of choice theory and the consequence of choice. The freedom of choice is that under the Constitution, every Nigerian has freedom of choice of religion to adopt. You have freedom of religion. So it's not mandatory that everybody in Nigeria must be a Muslim or you must not be a Muslim. It is a choice that you are a Muslim, because you have that freedom to change your religion. But that freedom, after you have exercised it to be a Muslim, it has a consequence. And that consequence is that Islamic law becomes mandatory on you. And that is where the issue of Islamic law of inheritance comes in. So in terms of the legal status, it's mandatory for every Muslim to plan his estate and execute his estate, administer his estate in accordance with Islamic law. I think that's the basic response.
Sorry, I'm still coming back to Dr. Ishola. So, as for something like wasiya or will, I don't know, should I just every day have a book and write it there, or I need a legal backing to that? That's number one. Number two, do I write wasiya on my entire wealth? If I die, all my wealth should be probably distributed amongst my children in a particular way I want, or it has to follow some certain principles?
Okay, for the legal institutional way of writing will, under Islamic law, the what do we call it? The professional way of writing will or officializing writing of will is not the primary approach, which means that you don't have to officialize your will before it will be valid. But given the reality of the modern world, it's advisable that one should write his will in a way that it will be clear that you actually intended all the terms and conditions that are stated in the will. So for that reason, one can have a personal document updating whatever that you want to instruct, and that will also qualify as a will under Islamic law. But if you want to do it in an official way, then you can engage professionals like companies that are engaged in this, like this, the convenance of this summit, and that will make it to be more official. But in terms of keeping record, whatever record you keep, once they can lay hands on it after death, it will be taken to be a will. Because even oral instruction is also valid under Islamic law to be regarded as a will. Then when it now comes to properties, especially, that one should be better documented and be done in an official way so that people will be clear, because property goes beyond just jotting down something somewhere. You should make it to be proper. And if you want to give out your property by will, you can give to those who are not eligible to inherit you. The maximum you can give is 1/3. But for your heirs, you can not distribute your property to them. But the only thing you can do is perhaps you have some kind of choice that you are thinking that after my death, this very particular property, I want it to be in the care of this very particular heir. So one can give that instruction, but that will be subject to the value of that property, that it doesn't exceed what that heir will be entitled to. So this is part of the arrangement that one can do. Because there is a modern trend now that it doesn't mean that you cannot even distribute your estate under Islamic law. Some modern scholars are saying you can distribute it, but you will just do the same thing in accordance with the ratio that have been put in place under Islamic law. If you envisage that, if you don't do that, maybe there is no proper knowledge of Islam and commitment to Islam from the prospective heirs. So to not guide against crisis among them, so you can, and they will respect will. Then you can say you have done your will, sharing or even giving formula that this also property or this amount should be given to this heir and that. Or generally you can say you want your will, your property to be shared and administered in accordance with the principles of Islamic law. And that will be a general clause.
Okay, so just taking you further, Dr. Ishola, we know we've been talking about generational wealth. So just looking at the Nigerian structures that you can use. So what would be the most apt structure that a patriarch or a matriarch can use to ensure that there is generational preservation of their assets? Would you say you go up and set it up as an incorporated trustee? Would you say you set it up as a limited liability company? Would you say you set it up as a partnership? What is under Nigerian existing law? What kind of structures, corporate entity structures, can you use to at least protect the corpus of the assets?
Okay, well, this is a very multifaceted question. And we have what we call, one of the major issues we have here is the issue of conflict of law. Because we have the incorporated trustee, we have the incorporated companies, then all these major Islamic tools that we have discussed, legally, if you look at it, we say they are under the residual power of the state. So actually, if the state structure has been properly managed and institutionalized, it would have been easier to say you go the proper registration to be done under the state law. But given our Nigerian, that is another mentality that we have, that we always believe that anything that is done under the state law is less legal than that one that is done under the federal law. And that is why everybody is going to CAC to do incorporated trustee for Waqf. For long, it has been my own position that time will tell when people will realize that there will be a lot of legal consequences of registration of Waqf trustees with the CAC. But as it is, whatever business that is a structure that is meant to be preserved for generational transfer, the best option that we have under Islamic law would be to a kind of connect that asset to Waqf, transforming it. And there is also a very important point that we need to know, because under Waqf, we got to know that Waqf, there's what we categorize as a Waqf de jure Waqf, and a de facto Waqf. That is, under the Islamic law, there are some properties or setup that the Islamic law presumes them to be Waqf, even if we don't declare them to be Waqf. For instance, if somebody has a school now, you are running a school, and that school is booming. When you die, how does the what do we call it? How does the heirs? How do they want to share the school that they say they want to take over? What are they inheriting? Is it the management they will inherit, or they are going to share the structure and say this structure belongs to this and this belongs to that? So under the Islamic law, such properties are regarded as Waqf de jure, that is by operation of law. So for that reason, it means such property should not be something that will be stratified, that will be shared among the heirs. Because sharing it will mean you are killing that business. So businesses, they are more or less like Waqf. They are not meant to be shared after the death. The only thing you have to restructure is the management. So whatever business that you run, whether you run it as incorporated or you run it whatever, there should be proper understanding that it is a Waqf by operation of law, and for that reason it cannot be inherited. The only thing is that it will become a family Waqf for the benefit of all. The only thing you work on is the management, and that will enable us to preserve it for generations.
That's very, very instructive, because we really don't have so much of the Muslims understanding these distinctions. So it's very, very important that we are saying this and we are making this very well known. So I want you to speak. I also want you to.
So actually, that was what I wanted to clarify, that there is no any business that is risk-free. And in Islamic finance, alhamdulillah, I can state it now, that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in an authentic hadith that even became a rule or a qaida in usul, that al-ghunmu bil-ghurmi, that there is no any benefit without taking liability. So meaning, if you want to undertake any business venture, then you must also be ready to take the risk, because it is the risk that will offset that benefit or return that you are going to get in your investment. And that is the basic reason why riba is prohibited, because it's zero risk free, or the risk is 100% shift from the loan giver to the loan taker. Because the person that is going to take that loan will have to pay back the loan plus the interest, irrespective whether he has invested the money in a viable business and he has gotten a return, or whether the business did not make any return, he must have to return the principal plus the interest. And the person that extended the loan is just seated idle. He didn't participate in the business, he didn't take any risk, and he is taking the benefit of the capital and then also the profit. So that's not fair. And that is why Sharia actually frown at riba. So any business that somebody actually marketed to you that you see this is risk-free, please don't go into it. It doesn't exist. Any business that is risk-free, meaning that it actually looks more of like gambling. Yeah. Or an interest-based transaction whereby the risk is totally transferred from one party to the other, and which is a clear injustice on the part of the person that you have shifted the risk to. I think this maybe might have clear some doubt.
Yes.
Thank you.
My question goes to the convener of this great occasion. My question, I'm very impressed, and I'm a bit, I'm highly educated, quite okay, but I don't even know where to start with because I am very interested in this. So my question is like, how does somebody, where do we start?
Fantastic question. For us, it all starts with the client saying exactly what you said and letting us know that he or she has concerns. So the starting point is what you've just done. Just let us know that really you want to have these conversations. And where we start is we would normally say questions, because we are not just about estate planning, we are also about generational wealth preservation, legacy preservation, business preservation, asset preservation. That's really what we are set up to do, and to manage that entire process. Like when the chairman, Bidemi, was speaking, he talked about company incorporation, company administration, being able to even provide services across free trade. So it's all about the preservation of what is yours. So we administer clients' questionnaire. We also sit with clients, so we have interviews. So once the client envisages that, you know what, come, let's have a conversation, I'm having concerns. We term it as concerns. I need help. I'm having concerns. We go in there, we have our questionnaires, we share it with you ahead. We start the conversation. They will now tell you to start letting us know how you want, what you want. Then when you've told us what you want, we will remember in providing Islamic estate planning, we don't just sit in our offices and do it. We have the Sharia advisors, we have our advisory board. So at the end of the day, we will try to now match what you want, what are the exposures you have, what is the peculiarity of your own situation. I think it was one of our speakers, I think it was Dr. Ishola, that said it, that there is no one person, the peculiarity of one person that is the same. Everybody is different. The issues you have as your family, as an individual, they will be different across different issues. Some of them is, oh, I have a young child and I just want to make sure that, and I'm seeing the elder ones, I don't understand that, oh, the elder ones are very good, they are very responsible, they will take care of it, but I want to fortify, I want to enhance them the more. So you have varied things, but once we are able to synthesize what those concerns are, we now sit down with you, look at what the Sharia principles are saying, look at what all the legal backing, both whether at the state level, whatever they are saying, we try to synthesize it. And in giving that service to you, in providing that advisory, in building that structure for you, we also have recourse to our Sharia advisory board. So they are the ones that will come and stamp it and say, yes, this is good to go, before we will now say, all signed, sealed, and deliver. So I'll be looking forward to having interviews and also meeting with you with members of our team. Thank you.